Hi there, I'm Jenny Farkas. I'm the coordinator for the Ladysmith Arts Council's Digital Literacy and Innovation Project, and today I'm speaking with Jane Marston, Chemainus First Nations elder and a professor at Vancouver Island University for about 15 years, working in a number of departments. And Jane, I'm really pleased to have you with me today to talk about a topic that I understand is really near and dear to you, which is cultural appropriation and copyright.
Hi, Jenny. Yes, it is. I've done a fair amount of research. I've given different talks about cultural appropriation. And I would sort of like clear up something to begin with. Our art style at one time was not considered art. It was considered an identity. And so if I was Salish and I did Coast Salish art, anybody like an anthropologist, an ethnologist, or any other tribe would know where I came from because of the art style I do. However, over the years, what has happened when our pieces went into galleries and into collections, it became art, and it changed the style quite a bit. And so people like myself and other First Nations started to do art to sell to non-First Nation people. So really,
and that's opened up a can of worms.
Well, it did in a way, because what was happening then is we were doing art that was different so that we could sell it. So that, say, for instance, a mask, I wouldn't do our sacred mask, but I would do a mask that with Coast Salish design that you could hang on your wall. And then I'm not, I still am Coast Salish, but I'm not going into the cultural aspects of our culture, so that it's almost like selling the culture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, tourism is a big industry, a big economic development component on Vancouver Island, and Indigenous tourism is growing here and all across the country. And so, what do you see as some of the sort of issues or concerns with these sort of this economic development pattern, this trend?
You know, Jenny, when I really think, I'll answer that question in a minute, but what I really think is, what is the matter with people that they can't look into their own background and do their own cultural work? I taught a course on carving totem poles. This was years and years, probably 35 years ago, maybe longer. Anyhow, there was a non-First Nation woman there, and she was crying because she said she didn't have any culture. And I said, no, you have a culture. Come on, let's check into it. So we did, and she went way back to where she came from, and she was Celtic. And I went, you have an amazing culture. You have an amazing art. Do your own art. And she did. You know, she did a pregnant woman, and she was so happy that she had found out who she was. Now, my question to anybody is, what is wrong with you that you need to take somebody else's art, call it your own, and use it as you think it belongs to you? It does not belong to you. First Nation or North American Native art does not belong to non-First Nations. I don't care what people say. It does not, and never will.
So you're talking about artists, non-Indigenous artists, who are using some of the patterns and the markings and so forth of traditional.
The traditional style, yes.
Yeah.
And they are using it. And actually, you know, when you come right down to it, why are they using it? They're only using it to increase their selling of their art. can't seem to make it without using the North American art style, North American Indian art style. They have to incorporate it into their art so that it becomes, people want to buy it.
I think there's a pretty strong move these days to try to protect that copyright and to give Indigenous artists more knowledge and tools to make sure that they protect the work that they're producing, and also to try to teach, you know, non-Indigenous artists the right from wrong sort of thing. Have you, I understand that copyright is an issue that's also of great interest to you. Have you been sort of hearing about these new trends?
Copyright is very difficult in First Nation art. What I really believe, and I think many other North American Native artists believe on the West Coast here, if I produce or draw an image and say I put it in a print and I sell it, any other Coast Salish artist knows that's my work, and it's copyrighted by sight. However, I could not go and get it copyrighted because it becomes so difficult that how can I copyright one image when someone else can copy it and just change it slightly, and I cannot say that's mine because they changed some part of the art. Copyright is very difficult for the First Nation people to get. I've looked into it, and it's just about impossible because it's in a colonial package. They're not looking. Many people who came over here look at it, like if they look at it and they like it, they can use it. I made a trip to New Zealand, and they asked me, the Maori people asked me too, I was on the Mariah, and they asked me, how can they copyright their work? And the best advice I gave to them is go do a class action, because what was happening, some of the big corporations were taking the Maori names and using it on their big trucks because it looked nice and it sounded nice, and you know, so they'd use it, and the Maori people were saying, that's my name. It's like putting Jane, you know, or my First Nation mat on a truck, and then they're saying it's the corporations are saying it's theirs. And at that time, this was many years ago too, 30 or more years ago, I said, do a class action suit. Do not do it by yourself because you're just one person and you don't have the finances to do it. Find a lawyer who will do a class action suit against the corporations and see, and it'll move along from there.
So that sort of group effort at protecting rights and protecting that, also that revenue source for artists is a trend that I'm learning about myself now, that there's greater awareness and resources and tools being developed right now, for example, by SFU and also the artist rights organization called CARFAC, that pretty interesting to try to raise all of our levels of awareness and understanding of how vital it is to not violate these not only these styles, but also the copyright of individual artists. So I only offer that as what it sounds like. There's a movement in the direction that you've been talking about for some time of just all of us needing to take greater responsibility for those protection of those rights. Collectively, you know, as a group, as a society, not just leaving it up to individual artists to try to chase their rights.
I think it would have to be done collectively, because if I spoke out as I do, many people do know I blatantly speak and I use names about people who have taken the liberty of using First Nation design. And I think if our people or a group of artists collectively got together and said, no, we must stop doing that, and we must look into our own background. We must use what is pertinent to us. Like, Jenny, seriously, if you did a First Nation design of a eagle, like, what's the point? Like, what is the point besides the fact that First Nation art is selling? What I'm saying is, when I do a piece of art, I go within myself and I become the piece of art. Now, if you did a First Nation piece of art, like, what, you're only following design. You're not going within yourself to the deeper level where you need to be as an artist.
Yeah, it's a very important reminder. And there's a conversation that's just starting about working together more actively right across the island as artists. And this is a really important, this is why I wanted to talk with you today. It's such an important topic, and for artists to hear from you, from someone who's been talking about this for a long time, just how fundamental these issues are.
And it is because Canada, at one time wanted to have the totem pole as the symbol of, I'm Canadian, so I'm going to have a totem pole. So what they did is they went to the grave sites in BC, and they turned all the totem poles or the memorial poles around so that they were facing the train track. So when people came to Canada on the train, then they'd see the totem pole, and they wanted the totem pole to be an emblem of Canada. And the First Nation people are saying, no, that's a memorial pole. That belongs to my family. That does not belong to Canada. So they stopped doing that. And I was thinking, it's only because people spoke up, because the First Nation people spoke up and said, you can't take what is mine, what I made for my family to represent my family. You can't take it and say it's yours and it's part of Canada. It's not part of Canada.
Yes. So it is for all of us to carry on that ethic. Each of us has to support. As a broad community here on Vancouver Island, we all have a responsibility to be making sure that appropriation does not, even those conversations don't even begin. But also on the level of an individual artist trying to make a living, we need to be able to protect their rights so that they can have access to all the support, the revenues that are rightly theirs, and that nobody is taking anything away from them.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. It's been wonderful to hear just a small segment of your views. You and I have talked about this off camera before, and we could talk for quite a bit longer. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing before we end our interview?
Well, I think as an artist myself, I would be really upset if I saw, for instance, my print of the swan on a shirt, or I know Doug LaFortune was walking downtown. Doug LaFortune is a Native artist, and he's from Victoria, and he was walking downtown Victoria, and there was a man across the street who had an image of Doug's work on his shirt, and Doug had never given anybody permission to do it. And I said, well, Doug, what did you do? And he said, what could I do? Now, the shirt was printed in China or Taiwan. And he said, how do I go after things like that, Jane? And I said, I don't know, Doug. It is really alarming that our images can be taken and blatantly used by people. and people are making money off it and claiming it as their art. What's wrong with people? Where are their ethics? Where are their morals? Or do we ever have any more of those?
I'm hoping there's a movement to rebuild those. If I was Doug in that situation, I would have fallen over in a faint. I think that's pretty alarming.
He was upset. He just couldn't believe his eyes. And I said, well, Doug, with the internet, like you were talking before about the internet, a lot of our work is on the internet. And once it's out on the internet, they say that it's public domain, right? And people can use it. And I'm saying that's not true. That is not true. And it makes me wonder that maybe when we do put something on the internet, maybe we have to put copyrighted on top of it or something. I don't know. I don't know the answers because the internet has sort of taken over our lives, and so has technology. It's kind of sad, really.
Well, the Canada Council for the Arts has a new funding stream that's for digital literacy to address exactly what you're talking about. And so the Ladysmith Arts Council, this is the first part of what we hope is a bigger project to help artists understand exactly what to do to protect themselves in the digital age, and also take advantage of the digital age, figure out how to use it to their benefit. So it's both sides of the coin there. But the Canada Council has realized that there is a big investment needed to be made to ensure that artists are really understanding the implications of the digital age. So this is part of it, and your contribution is fantastic. Very, very much appreciated. And it's also lovely to see you. I'd like to acknowledge your granddaughter, Ariana, for helping make this happen today. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off, and really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Jane.